There's a reason you found this video today. It's not random, and it's definitely not coincidence. Something within you, maybe silent, maybe screaming, has been searching for answers that logic alone can't touch. You've likely felt it, that subtle pull, that strange sense that something bigger is unfolding behind the scenes of your ordinary life. And now, here you are, as if summoned. The timing isn't just perfect, it's precise. What you're about to hear isn't meant for everyone. This is sacred knowledge disguised as simple words. Hidden truths that only reveal themselves when your inner world is finally aligned to receive them. This isn't just another explanation of reality. It's a key, a mirror, a signal that you've stepped onto a threshold most will never even notice. The door is open now, and the moment to walk through it is yours. Not all eyes see the same world, even when they're open. There are layers to reality that remain invisible to the unready, veiled not by secrecy but by vibration. Consciousness works like a key. It doesn't force doors open. It simply tunes into new levels of truth when it's aligned. You might read a book 100 times, but on the 101st, the words suddenly catch fire. What changed? Not the book, you did. This evolution doesn't happen through age or education. It unfolds through inner integration. Pain digested becomes wisdom. Confusion alchemized becomes clarity. And it's through this quiet refinement that perception shifts. The fog begins to lift not when we seek more, but when we release what blocks the view. The sacred hides not to tease, but to protect. Think of it like spiritual eyesight adjusting in a dark room. The more you learn to sit with silence, discomfort, and uncertainty, the clearer the unseen becomes. A truth may have been sitting in your life for years, patiently waiting for you to slow down enough to feel it. It's in those still moments, when the world softens and you stop pretending, that truth finally whispers back. Most people try to outrun this process by forcing insight. They devour courses, chase gurus, demand signs. But consciousness doesn't respond to demand. It responds to readiness. Maturity isn't about knowing more, but about carrying less noise within. A calm mind becomes a mirror. That's when you begin to see what was always there. You don't climb to higher truths by climbing higher ladders. You descend into yourself. With each descent comes release of identity, of certainty, of the illusion of control. And then something curious happens. You begin to understand things not with your intellect, but with your presence. Wisdom arises not through answers, but through deep inner listening. One of the clearest signs that you're ready for a new truth is when old explanations no longer satisfy you. What used to comfort now feels hollow. What used to fit now feels tight. This isn't a crisis, it's a doorway. Growth rarely announces itself in fireworks. It usually enters through a sigh, a silence, a sudden inability to pretend anymore. Every ancient mystery school taught that knowledge was only given when the seeker was purified, when the vessel was ready to hold what it asked for. In modern life, this purification looks like healing wounds, questioning inherited beliefs, shedding false roles. You begin to crave simplicity, silence, and meaning. And through that shift, secrets start to bloom. Truth doesn't hide, it waits. And the moment you stop chasing the light and start becoming it, reality begins to reveal its hidden design through you. Reality isn't something you live in, it's something you generate. Jacobo Grinberg saw this long before most dared to question the script. To him, the world we touch and see is not fixed or objective, but a filtered expression of consciousness, interacting with what he called the informational matrix. This matrix, an infinite field of possibility, bends and responds to our inner state. In other words, the projector isn't out there, it's within. Grinberg wasn't speaking in metaphors. He backed his insights with research, blending neuroscience with ancient shamanic wisdom. His work with Mexican healers revealed what science still resists, that thought and energy are not separate. What you believe shapes what you perceive, and perception literally molds your experience of time, space, and self. You aren't a passive observer. You're the sculptor of the very clay you walk on. Every thought is like a brushstroke on the canvas of the matrix. If your mind is filled with fear, confusion, or unworthiness, your world reflects it, sometimes subtly, sometimes painfully. But when your inner narrative begins to shift toward curiosity, acceptance, presence, so does the script of your reality. The matrix isn't punishing or rewarding, it's mirroring. Modern society has taught us to outsource truth to experts, to institutions, to screens. Grinberg flipped this on its head. He believed direct experience, shaped through inner silence and conscious awareness, was the only valid method of knowing. His disappearance remains a mystery, but perhaps it wasn't a vanishing. Perhaps it was a crossing. Think about déjà vu, or meeting someone for the first time and feeling ancient familiarity. These aren't glitches. They're ripples from the matrix responding to your frequency. Grinberg suggested that the more coherent and aligned your energy, the more the universe bends to meet your soul's blueprint. Reality stops being random, it becomes responsive. This concept can feel overwhelming until you realize it's empowering. You're not at the mercy of your surroundings, you are the tuning fork. Want to shift your experience? Start by shifting your attention. Feed your mind with symbols of beauty, your heart with practices of gratitude, your body with moments of stillness. The matrix listens. Grinberg's theory doesn't ask for belief, it asks for experimentation. Meditate with intention. Speak your day into being. Watch how people respond when you show up grounded. Small shifts echo loudly across this energetic web. Your choices, subtle, daily, are like codes, and the matrix decodes them with precision. The deeper you realize that reality is elastic, the more seriously you begin to treat your thoughts, not as private noise, but as sacred architecture. Ever walked into a room and instantly felt the energy before a word was spoken? That's not just intuition, it's resonance. What surrounds us is more than environment, it's feedback. The people you attract, the chaos or calm you live in, the patterns that keep looping, they all whisper stories about your inner landscape. Life doesn't speak English, it speaks energy. Most don't want to hear this. It means taking radical ownership. If the world looks unkind, maybe it's reflecting your inner battle with worth. If it feels empty, maybe it's echoing a numbed-out heart. This isn't blame, it's revelation. You don't change the mirror by scratching the glass, you change it by tending to the one who's looking. Your reality is like a dream that listens in real time. Ever noticed how when you feel grateful, more things arrive to be grateful for? Or how a bad mood colors even the kindest gesture as suspicious? That's not magic, it's alignment. Your internal state interprets and filters every experience. Change your state, and the story rewrites itself. Some call it manifestation, others call it projection. But let's go deeper. The outer world doesn't just reflect what you think, it reflects what you believe you deserve. And those beliefs often live in the shadows. The unspoken rules you absorbed in childhood, the scars you hide under success, the guilt you carry quietly. These are the silent architects of your world. Want to shift your external reality? Start with micro adjustments. Instead of trying to force outcomes, observe reactions. Notice who drains you and who expands you. Reframe. One limiting belief a day. Sit with one uncomfortable truth. Create one habit that affirms your value. These tiny calibrations ripple far beyond what the eye can see. Remember, Every relationship is a mirror, especially the ones that trigger you. The person who disrespects your boundaries, a test to see if you uphold them. The one who doesn't, see your light, a nudge to see it yourself. The friend who disappears when you evolve, proof that you've outgrown the skin they knew. Life reflects your choices, even the ones you make silently. This isn't about becoming a perfectionist of positivity. It's about becoming honest with your frequency. When your inner world softens, aligns, and stabilizes, the outer world rearranges, not immediately but inevitably. It may look like coincidence, but it's actually coherence. And when you finally see yourself clearly, the world starts to smile back, not because it changed, but because you did. Some truths don't hide, they wait. They linger just beyond the fog of assumption, fear, and conditioning. These veils aren't made of fabric or fiction. They're built from wounds we haven't healed, beliefs we've inherited, and stories we never questioned. They filter what we think is real, making the miraculous seem mundane. And they only dissolve when we're truly ready to see. You can't tear these veils off with force. They unravel through presence. Every time you pause before reacting, question a knee-jerk belief, or sit with a feeling instead of escaping it, you're lifting a thread. It's not glamorous, it's gritty, awkward, humbling, but it's also sacred. Because in those quiet dismantlings, vision expands. Sometimes the first veil is emotional, a defense mechanism you mistook for personality, a fear masquerading as logic. When you trace your triggers instead of justifying them, you begin to see the roots beneath the surface. That argument wasn't about dishes, it was about feeling invisible. That impatience wasn't ambition, it was self-doubt in disguise. Other veils are intellectual. They come dressed as certainty. This is just how the world works. People don't change. It's too late for me. These thoughts may sound like wisdom, but they're often cages. You break them not by debating, but by experiencing something new. A moment of stillness that touches eternity, a synchronicity too perfect to dismiss. A dream that feels like a message. There are also cultural veils, handed down, never questioned. What success means. What's considered normal. How much joy is acceptable. These invisible rules shape lives, generations, legacies. And yet, when one person wakes up and says, "What if that's not true?" an entire ancestral chain begins to stir. Liberation isn't loud, it's contagious. As veils fall, the world begins to feel thinner, not in a fragile way, but in a transparent one. You start seeing signs in symbols, wisdom in strangers, guidance in music. Life becomes less mechanical, more mythic. You realize the veil wasn't only around you, it was you. A temporary identity that's now dissolving into something deeper. This is why healing isn't optional if you want to see clearly. Every unresolved pain is a fog that distorts perception. You don't need to fix every scar, but you do need to feel them. Only then can the light pass through unfiltered. Clarity isn't just knowing, it's becoming transparent enough for truth to move through you. Eventually you realize that every veil lifted was never a loss. It was an unveiling of who you've always been. You look at the clock, 11:11, a feather on the sidewalk. A stranger says the exact words you needed to hear. These aren't just charming coincidences. They're encrypted messages from the invisible. When patterns repeat in strange harmony, it's not luck, it's language, and synchronicity is how the universe whispers, "You're on the path." Most people shrug these off, but those who've begun to listen know better. These moments often appear when your inner world begins to align with a higher current. They're affirmations, checkpoints, spiritual nudges that bypass the mind and strike straight at the soul. The universe isn't subtle because it's vague. It's subtle because it's sacred. You can't force synchronicities to happen, but you can become the kind of person they seek. That means quieting the mind, clearing the noise, and stepping into intentional presence. When you're scattered, you miss the signs. But when you're anchored, even a song on the radio can crack open a revelation. Awareness is the antenna. Not all synchronicities are warm and fuzzy. Some come as friction. A car that won't start right before a meeting that wasn't meant to happen. A door slamming shut that seemed perfect. A delay that leads to an encounter that changes everything. Divine timing rarely asks for permission, it just rearranges reality with purpose. Carl Jung, who coined the term, believed synchronicities arise from the meeting point of the inner and outer world. When the psyche and the cosmos dance in rhythm, events appear charged with meaning. It's not superstition, it's symmetry. And the more you trust the pattern, the more the pattern reveals itself. One powerful way to engage with synchronicity is through ritual attention. Write down repeating numbers, reflect on strange dreams. Journal the odd coincidences that made you pause. Over time, you'll see the thread. A logic that isn't linear, but deeply intelligent. And this builds trust, not just in life, but in your own navigation. These signs don't replace responsibility, they illuminate it. Synchronicities won't do the work for you. They just tell you which direction the current is flowing. Your job is to paddle in alignment, not fight the tide. When you move with what wants to emerge, life unfolds like a well-timed melody. And when you stop doubting those moments that make your heart skip, the universe stops whispering and starts speaking. You've felt it before, that quiet knowing that bypasses logic but feels unshakably right. Intuition isn't imagination or luck. It's the voice beneath all the noise. It speaks softly, not because it's unsure, but because it trusts you'll slow down enough to listen. And when you do, the world shifts from chaos to coherence. Presence is its gateway. You don't access intuition by thinking harder. You access it by being more fully here. The more anchored you are in this moment, the louder your inner guidance becomes. Time stretches, details become vivid, and suddenly that subtle inner nudge feels more like a lighthouse than a whisper. Modern life dulls this signal. Too many tabs open, too many distractions pulling us outward. But when you unplug from the static and return to breath, to body, to stillness, you start to hear again. A sensation in your gut, a pull in your chest, a soft yes or not yet that speaks without words. There's no need to dress this up as mysticism. It's as real as hunger, just harder to measure. Animals live by it. Children trust it. Ancient initiates trained for decades to refine it. And you remember it every time you just knew something was off or right and couldn't explain how. The more you follow this compass, the more accurate it becomes. It won't always lead you to ease, but it will lead you to truth. Sometimes, it whispers to say, wait, when your ego wants to rush. Sometimes it nudges you towards something your mind isn't ready to want. But it never betrays. Only we betray it by overriding it. Practices that sharpen intuition are often beautifully simple: grounding in nature, eyes closed, one hand on heart, writing without editing, listening to silence without needing to fill it. These are acts of invitation, not control. And over time, they awaken the inner current that always knows where to go. Presence and intuition feed each other. The more present you are, the more intuitive you become. The more intuitive you are, the deeper your presence becomes. It's a spiral upward, not a ladder. And in that space, even mundane moments feel radiant because you're actually inside them instead of somewhere else in your mind. Imagine the universe as a vast echo chamber. Every thought, every emotion, every belief you carry inside sends a frequency outward, and reality answers in kind. It doesn't judge or discriminate, it reflects. What you live externally is often the vibrational photograph of what you've been carrying within. Not always obvious, but always precise. You might wish for love, but if you vibrate in self-rejection, life gives you people who echo that wound. You might ask for abundance, but if you live in fear of not enough, the universe mirrors scarcity. This isn't cosmic punishment. It's perfect calibration. It shows you where your alignment is broken and invites you to realign. It's easy to blame the world when things feel unfair or stuck. But the real magic begins when you look inward and ask, what part of me created this reflection? That question holds power, not guilt, not shame. Field around you. Reality bends to presence, not pressure. You'll know the mirror is shifting when people start treating you differently without you saying a word. When synchronicities increase. When you feel peace not because things got easier, but because you got clearer. The world may not become perfect, but it becomes deeply responsive. That's the gift of alignment. Of course, contrast still comes. Life will still test you, but now you recognize it not as misfortune, but as feedback. A rough interaction might show you a hidden resentment. A setback might expose where you still doubt your worth. It's all data, not to condemn, but to refine. Eventually, you stop asking the universe for proof and start becoming the proof. You're not just witnessing reality, you're streaming it from within. Every frequency you emit, consciously or not, becomes a blueprint that molds the events, people, and experiences around you. It's less like watching a movie, and more like programming the script in real time. What you feel repeatedly, you broadcast. What you broadcast, you eventually meet. This isn't about fake positivity. It's about vibrational honesty. You can't mask a wounded self-worth with affirmations. The universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to energy. So if your mouth says, I am worthy, but your core whispers, I'm not enough, guess which signal dominates? That's why real transformation is felt, not just spoken. Every moment is a vibrational offering. Your thoughts are electric, your emotions magnetic. Together they shape your field. That's the metaphysical engine behind reality creation. Most people focus only on thoughts, but the deeper shift happens in emotion, the felt sense that aligns or misaligns with what you desire. You want to attract peace? Embody calm. Want abundance? Radiate trust, not desperation. This isn't law of attraction fluff, it's energetic physics. The informational matrix Grinberg spoke of doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you are. And when you shift your being, the field responds without delay. One powerful method of recalibration is conscious imagination. Visualization isn't fantasy, it's practice. When you imagine a future vividly and emotionally, your nervous system begins to adapt. You train your vibration in advance. Think of it as sending a spiritual RSVP to the life you're inviting in, and the universe, it receives it. But here's the twist. Your unconscious is also creating. That's why shadow work matters. If there's unprocessed rage, shame, or fear beneath the surface, it will broadcast whether you want it to or not. This isn't a curse, it's an opportunity to bring those frequencies into light, to integrate instead of suppress. Alignment isn't perfection, it's coherence. As you become more aware of what you're projecting, life starts to feel less random and more sculpted. Even the delays and detours begin to make sense. You realize they weren't blocks. They were corrections. Each twist shaped your vibration with more clarity. And now you're vibrating not from reaction, but from intention. Eventually, you stop trying to control reality and start curating your frequency like sacred art. You didn't find this message by accident. Something in you called it forth. A deeper self that's ready not just to understand reality, but to co-create with it. If you've made it this far, then you already know. The universe isn't outside of you, It's responding to you. And now with this awareness, you carry a quiet power that changes everything. So move forward gently, speak your truth boldly, and trust the signs that brought you here. If this video stirred something in you, leave a comment with the word aligned to show you received it fully. And if you're ready for more wisdom like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us on this unfolding path of awakening. The next message will come when the universe knows you're ready.